Welcome to WFPC Podcasting, your local source for the heart and history of Pike County, Indiana. And now, here's your host, Randy Harris.
Welcome to WFPC Podcasting. This is a weekly look at news and information and the people in and around Pike County. Being mayor is, can be, and should be an all-consuming job. You oversee the sewer plant, the water plant. You have water lines to rebuild and expand. You've got to make sure to take care of the fire department, police department, their needs so they can do their job. You've got to maintain the park, maintain the streets. To build, you've got great decisions that come and go, but then you've always got potholes to fill, weed letters to send out, visits to make. Back when I served as mayor, we had an organization called the Petersburg Jaycees, and they ran an annual community get-together called originally the White River Catfish Festival. But after many years with the changing society, service organizations started to fade, the Jaycees ran out of steam. The city has jumped in, and before long, they created the Buffalo Trace Festival. Today, we have Petersburg Mayor RC Klipsch. You got a community festival going again. Tell us about the Buffalo Trace Festival.
Well, that's really an interesting story, Randy, and you just exhausted me when you described all the responsibilities of the mayor. But
keeps you busy, doesn't it?
It does, and it sure does. But it's funny on this Buffalo Trace Festival, how this all came about, and you'll know who I'm talking about, I think, in a minute. But this all came about right before our bicentennial in 2017, and I found myself at that time being the mayor, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is really a big deal. I need to do something, and I was panicking because I really didn't have any ideas at all. And I'll never forget this. One evening, we were having dinner up at Friends, and Karen and I walked in, and somebody up front yelled, "Hey, Mayor," he said, "I got an idea for you for a festival." And I said, "You do? Well, I want to hear about this if you're serious, because I'm really choking on this. I don't have any ideas." And a gentleman by the name of Tommy Dorsey, that just happened to be an old Petersburg Indian from some time ago, was visiting his sister, Judy Elkins, Jody's mother, at that time, and I've known him for years. And he said, "You need to have a festival." I said, "Okay, will you help me with it?" I was just challenging him a little bit. He said, "Yeah, I'll help you with it." And he lives in Indianapolis. And he said, let's call this thing the Buffalo Trace Festival. I said, what a great idea. And that's how that got started. And he was very involved with that. And he and his wife, Cheryl, who's also from Petersburg Indian, helped me with the first year and got this thing really rolling.
The name, why Buffalo Trace?
Sure, obviously the history of the Buffalo Trace in our community. And I do a little research on that, and you will find in pioneer days, this was the connecting route between the Ohio River down in the Louisville area, where the pioneers would cross over into Indiana and travel up to Vincennes, Indiana. And this was the Buffalo Trace. And of course, he knew that history, and I did too. And I thought, what a great idea. I said, but you've got to help me on this. And believe it or not, that was to be a one-year event created in 2017 to celebrate our bicentennial. And he was involved. And of course, Jody's been a big player. Jim Pell was a very big player in that as well, in our very first one. And of course, Kelly Cook was involved with
She's still involved.
4-H and had a history in it. And she wanted to help me with it. And that's how this thing has started. And here we are. I never, ever imagined this being a one-year event that it's turned out to be. And I remember Kelly arguing with me. She says it needs to be on Main Street. I said, "Kelly, that's a state highway. We can't put it on Main Street." And she said, "Well, you can." I said, "Well, I don't believe we can." She said, "I'll call the governor." I said, "Slow down a minute." So she pushed me into calling NDOT to find out if it was possible to have a festival on a state highway in a downtown community. And as it turns out, it is. Now, we have to file every year and do certain things a certain way, of course. But that's how this thing got started. And never in my wildest dreams would it still be going on, and 8 or 9 years later, whatever it is, and with the success. It's one thing for people to say they really enjoyed something. And you think, well, boy, that was a good event. But when they actually open up their checkbook and make a donation or a sponsorship, then you realize you've really got something worthwhile. And as I was saying earlier, Karen reminds me of this every year. I can't believe you're doing this again, because it's stressful for a few of us to make sure we get this done properly. But I will also say at the end of the event, nobody has more fun with it than I do. I thought it was such a wonderful thing. It's like a community party. We do this once a year. Everybody comes out. To me, it's a big celebration of our community, something I'm very proud of, and it's certainly been a lot of fun.
A lot of moving pieces.
A lot of moving pieces to this. We've kind of got it. And honestly, this year, I think we've had wonderful entertainment, and the entertainment's free. I've said many times, it's almost embarrassing when Josh Flint has a lot to do with and gets the entertainment through entertaining agencies. He does this for us. And it's also kind of funny when I see where these performers who have been here have become very successful. Parmalee's a good example. Avriana last year has really taken off. So we've had some wonderfully good entertainment in a small town, free environment. When you see normally what these people charge and get paid to perform, and they perform in big city arenas, and then I see it's Petersburg, Indiana. A lot of times we'll talk to their managers of the agencies, and they can't understand how can this be free? Well, it's only because of our sponsorships. The people do a great job with this, and if it wasn't for those sponsors, we wouldn't be able to do this. But the entertainment's free, as you know, and it's turned out to a very nice event.
Are you good on sponsors for this year?
Well, I'm going to tell a funny story, and that's what a lot of people will know who this is, but some may not. I usually take the responsibility. And really, this is a Discover Downtown Petersburg event. Okay, it's done with fundraising. It's not city tax dollars. It's the Discover Downtown. We raise the money. Well, that consists of me and a couple other people. So it always is kind of a stressful thing for me, because we sign the contracts back in November and December for the next year. So as things have gone up in price, and obviously you're either going to do this or you're not, and you have to raise the money for the sponsorships. Now that puts the pressure on me to do that. And I've been very fortunate that people enjoy the event and are willing to do that. But it's always a challenge. But I want to tell you a funny story. When I think about and that's why Karen will say to me, I can't believe you're doing this to yourself again. Putting this, you sign the contracts, then you raise the money. She tells a story when she was in high school. Now, she was from Hammond, Indiana. We met at Indiana University in college. But she was from Hammond, George Rogers Clark High School. And when she was a senior, she was in some social group that put on dances at the school. And she was responsible for hiring a band and charging the money to pay for the band at Hammond, Indiana. Now, this would have been in about 1968. You might know where I'm going for this. But she hired this local band to perform at a high school dance, and she was charging everybody $5 to come to this event, okay? So she was a nervous wreck because, like I'm talking about, she had hired the band, and now she has to raise the money to pay the band. So she really didn't get to pay much attention or listen to the entertainment, because she was collecting money at the door and afraid she wasn't going to have enough money to pay this new band that happened to be from Gary, Indiana. You may have heard of them, called the Jackson 5.
Oh, my.
How's that for a story? Now, at that time, they were from Gary, Indiana. Michael Jackson's just a little boy, and they were performing in high school dances. So she'd hired this band, not knowing anything about it, and was afraid she wouldn't have the money to pay for the band. So here we are now, she and I at our age, hiring bands without sure we're going to have the money. So here we go again. But I tell that story and people look at me, are you serious? Very serious. It was Jackson 5.
You nor she have ever told me that story.
I knew you didn't know that story. I said, so don't let me forget to tell this story. When I tell that to people, I get the biggest kick out of it, because they say, really? Well, you have to understand the point in history, and you've seen the history of the Jackson 5.
3 years later, they were big.
That's okay. Here we go. That would have been, I'm guessing, Well, we both graduated in 1969. So that was probably 1969 when she was doing that for some organization. She was the lead on it, selling the tickets, hired the band. So I said, here we are again at our age, trying to raise money to pay for a band.
Had Karen not hired them, they may have gotten frustrated and quit the business.
That's what started them.
Thank you, Karen.
Yes, that's right.
Oh, my.
So she tells me every year, I can't believe you're doing this again. But I've said so many times, it works. I'm very proud of the event. And really, nobody has more fun than I do.
Great. We appreciate your attitude. So what are our days for the Buffalo Trace?
Well, this year, and this is interesting. Remember, our first one in 2017 was the bicentennial. And we had that, I think I remember, it was September the 15th. And it was so hot. I thought, this temperature in southern Indiana, it's too hot for that. I always wanted more of a sweatshirt, cool evening, fall activity. And this year, as it turns out, this date is determined by our ride company. He is so much in demand and so popular. He's from the central Indiana area, and we're the last performance he does every year.
Wow.
So I just have to plead with him to come one more time. So that really dictates our dates. This year it's October 9th, 10th, and 11th. So you remember 2 years ago we had rain. Last year we had perfect weather. But I like hopefully the temperature at that time. But that's when he's coming, so consequently everything is centered around him.
You know, where I grew up, west side
Sure.
of Evansville, our festival was the first full week of
Yes. And
October.
See, we conflicted with that last year.
This year you're going to be a little past.
Unintentionally. We're usually 1 year past them, but theirs is a week event. So we caught some of that, and it was based upon his schedule.
You've got a lot of cool things coming.
Yes, you're looking at our flyer was just designed. Josh sent it to me this week, did a nice job. But we've got, I think, the best lineup we've had as far as entertainment this year.
You know, the Duke boys, John Urbina and I have been buddies for 40 years.
Oh, they put on a great show. And of course, people my age appreciate that music. So I really like those. And they've been here in horrible rain. 2 years in a row it rained when they were performing. 1 year after they were on the stage and the wind-driven rain was right in their face, and they just plugged right through. But the 2 times I've been here, it's rained both times. So I'm hoping that's not going to happen this year.
So Thursday, October 9th, you've got the vendors are going to be set up and ready to go at 4:30. The rides start at 5 o'clock. You've got the festival, the opening ceremony. Is it a parade?
Well, we're going to have a parade again this year. Yes, we have a parade to start, and then we have the ceremony. Things really kick off at 6. But we added originally it was just Friday and Saturday nights.
Right.
And we tried Thursday because of, it seems to me like fall break entered into that. And we wanted those that were going to be out of town so the kids could come Thursday night. And it was almost like a practice run on Thursday evening, the first time we did it. And I was really surprised. We had a big turnout, and the rides are here anyway, so why not start Thursday? So we moved it up, and especially if we have a bad weather night. This gives us one more opportunity by starting on Thursday. And Thursday has been a pretty big hit.
Great.
And especially this year, here, so we're bringing the Duke boys in on Thursday.
Oh, they're fabulous.
I think they are too, yeah.
And they've kind of shaken things up a little bit this year. Bigger and stronger than ever.
Oh, is that right? Well, I'm glad to hear that. I didn't know that. Yeah. They put on a great show.
And they might even play some of the Jacksons for Karen.
Yeah, you never know.
So Friday, October 10th, walk us through that. You've got some local entertainment that
we
night.
always try to get some local entertainment in there, as we've done both Friday and Saturday nights. But as well, of course, Thursday we enjoy the swing choir coming. But Friday we start off with Hometown Gold. They do a good job. They've been with us for a number of years now. And then followed by 86T, which, as most people here know, that was as a Pike Central teacher that is in that band. And they put on a great show. We've had them a number of times. And it seems to me like we might have had a conflict or something one year where they didn't come. But they're coming back this year. I really enjoy that. They do a great job. And this next one, was recommended to us. If you remember last year, we had Katie Graves was here. She has a little food truck. She teaches now up in Sullivan County or Terre Haute, somewhere in that area. But she, and it was very popular. Unfortunately, she's not going to be able to come this year. They're going to be on vacation. But she recommended this next group, which is No Fences, is the name of the band. But it's a Garth Brooks tribute band. And apparently put on a great show.
I know them.
Oh, you do? I've never heard of it.
They do a great job.
So that's what I've been told since we did. But Josh hired them, and I thought, wow, that's going to be fun for Friday night. And so that's why I say with the Duke Boys on Thursday, now them on Friday with 86T leading into Saturday. Our entertainment lineups, I think, is the strongest it's ever been. And we've got some local entertainment. You might notice for Saturday night, you might see a name you recognize on Saturday.
Saturday, October 11th.
Yes. Yep. Start off with the pageants for the little girls and the big girls and carnival rides. And Ron Rhodes is coming back again this year. Everybody gets a kick out of Ron Rhodes. That's always fun. But we have look what happens after that. We got a couple of young local entertainers
up going to be comers.
Yeah, they're going to be performing again. Yeah, one of them's by the name of Jayla Harris. She's going to come on about 5:30. You may have heard of her. I think I saw recently where she's Miss Pike County too, by the way. But you may know that name. At 6:30, Connor Lovelace. I think these are two college students now.
They are both headed to the same place.
Oh, is that right?
Next week.
So we've got some college students coming back to perform.
Nashville bound.
Yeah, well, good. Well, you'll find the next two are also have a connection to Nashville. I was reading about Megan Patrick, who is going to be performing. I was so happy last year to have a female artist and a male artist both on Saturday night. And remember last year, Avery Anna was our female, and she just did a great job. And she, by the way, has really taken off in the last year. She's doing very well now. But Megan Patrick, I was reading about her. Interesting. She's won some awards. She's actually originally from Canada, but once again, they all come through Nashville, just like what our young performers are doing right now. This is how she got started. And she's performing at 7:30 and followed by 9 o'clock by Drake White. And I was reading a little bit about Drake White today, too. So we've got some really good entertainment. If you don't know those two, you might look those up and see what you will learn, that they're both going to be very, very good.
Megan Patrick and Drake White.
Yes.
Mayor, you're expanding, you're growing. Things had started in 17. 18 was going great. 19 was getting bigger. And then all of a sudden,
COVID
changed the world, didn't it?
Yes. And if you remember at that same time, which even made it more confusing, when we had our streetscape project going on. Now, you remember that included, the whole history there where the streetlights fell down in about 2015 or 16. I just became the mayor, and the streetlights came down. They were so old, and we had to do this project to redo our sidewalks and streetlights and everything was associated with that. That took years, as well as at the same time, we're doing a infrastructure project where we put a brand new water line right down the middle of Main Street. You remember, Randy, we used to have leaks on Main Street. Well, that happened at the same time COVID was going on, so we had a year there where we didn't have that. Main Street was you can remember what a mess Main Street was. But all that's finished now. We're back on Main Street, and I think most people agreed last year by having everything on Main Street and not using 8th Street. I thought, well, goodness, we got this wide Main Street, and we got these brand new street lights. Let's just put it all on Main Street. And everybody really liked the flow was much better from the rides all the way down to the stage, so you could flow back and forth. And I always wanted to do it that way. Remember the first few years, the stage was up closer to 7th Street. By moving it farther down, we've got all this Main Street to utilize. And I think everybody after last year's festival really agreed that was a much better layout.
So where is the stage today?
Well, the stage will be down on, that's to be determined as to where that lands. Last year, and but people don't understand the logistics of this whole thing. Electricity is a huge issue. Right? Whether it's the food trucks or the rides or the stage, lighting and sound, we have to have power that's where everything is positioned, where it is positioned. So the stage now, we put a power source down on the corner of 5th Street, and we can move anywhere between 5th and 4th, depending on what we anticipate the crowd to be and how and where we position everything. But last year, if you remember, it was right at the corner there on 5th. But we had 4th to 5th was wide open. If we have enough demand from vendors for vendor space, food trucks, and whatever's the number that are coming, we can move that stage. I think it's within 200 feet of the power source, and the power source is on that corner. So it could go farther down on 4th or towards 4th. But I like the idea of the crowd facing the stage that way. And everybody agreed with that last year, I think. We have the room to work with. It just depends.
You're working toward German American.
Yes. Mm-hmm. 4th Street we keep 4th Street open. All right, because it's an inconvenience. I know it's an inconvenience for everybody for a few days because we've shut down Main Street. But we keep that intersection open, of course.
So you might be as far down as the sheriff's department.
Could be. That would be the very back of this. We're not going any farther than that. And I don't think we will be. But it could be this year that we go a little farther, depending on demand for what I call the food trucks and vendors. We can move the entertainment farther away, and we have that much room to work with, which really makes it nice that we have the room. We never know how many vendors. A lot of vendors will wait till the last minute, depending on weather forecast, and we can deal with that. But when I say, you can't imagine how many times you'll see me out there measuring and stepping off and trying to decide where to put that stage. But it will be in that general area again this year.
Do we have any unusual vendors that we're not used to?
Not at this point that I'm aware of. Now, I don't have a lot to do with that. I will find out more about that it's interesting when we redid the streetscaping. And you notice how we painted the parking spots. Last year, we decided each one of those spots should represent a vendor spot. It works, and we had them numbered and labeled. And what happens? Some of the vendors, they think that they need so much an area, but then they bring a tent and they set a tent up. Then you got everything that holds. All of a sudden, what appears to be 12 feet turns into 20 feet. Well, that's about what a parking spot is. So we have kind of got that figured out, and we try to spread the food trucks out with the vendors, depending on who's interested. We really like the local groups. One thing I really wanted to see happen more than really has, and it's been a little disappointing to me, that some of the organizations don't participate more than they could for fundraising. Because as you know, in the West Side event in Evansville, that brings
it all is.
That supports those groups for the whole year. We have had, like last year, we had the girls softball team, and they did very, very well.
What did they sell?
They had French fries primarily, and I think maybe hamburgers, but primarily French fries. But I think the Methodist Church last year, the Grub Foundation, they came. Some of our local non-for-profits, what a great opportunity for fundraising, because we bring in lots of people, and you can make some money. And that's what we want to happen, the local groups to prosper from this.
We've got 50 or 60 churches.
I know. That's
all they have to do is
participate,
pick a product.
Now, the Gleason church that Joe Hadley's involved with, they do a great job. They come every year, and they do very well. And in fact, last Christmas, they came again, and everything they made, they donated like a mission program for the church. But Main Street Presbyterian Church, we're a very big part of this event. They're a big sponsor and do things every year, but the non-for-profits can really participate in this, and if they choose to, make money.
That's the way the West Side has done it. Can you talk somebody into having brain sandwiches for me? That's what I grew up on.
I'll leave that up to you West Siders. I'm not so sure I can say I've ever had one of those, nor am I very interested in one of those. But now, should you like to push that, go right ahead.
It's great. It's growing. It's great for Petersburg. It's great for Pike County.
Well, I'm so proud of it. I'll tell you how this came about. I was at a mayor's meeting, I don't know, some economic development meeting in Indianapolis or something. It's been so long I don't even remember it. But it was interesting because the speaker was from St. Petersburg, Florida. And some of you know we have a place in St. Petersburg, so I'm very familiar with that community. And what they had done down there, I was really impressed with this. They've renovated their whole downtown area. And that was what the program was about. It was really economic development. But they had done that with, as you know, the use of TIF money, reinvesting in their downtown district, and a lot of quality of life type projects is what it was. But it's really worked. But he said, you mayors, like what you said earlier, every day you listen to complaints and you fix potholes and you do all the things.
Tackle big issues.
Yeah, that aren't much fun. So why don't you go back to your hometowns and let's have some fun? Why not go back and have a party? So I came back and thought, oh my goodness, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to have a community party. We're going to celebrate Petersburg, and we're going to have some fun. Okay. And honestly, and I've told Kelly, she and I argue all the time, I've told Kelly, I am really interested in providing an activity for our community. Now, as far as growing it, that's never been my motivation. But we get a lot of people come from Washington, Oakland City, Knox County, within 20 or 25 miles. And that's fine. I'm glad they do and enjoy it. But for me, it's always been a community party. And that's where I got that idea. And really, that's what it is.
And I made the comparison. I hope it was a fair comparison. When the Catfish Festival,
oh sure,
was right down there on the football field or the orphans lot, right downtown.
It was great.
Yeah.
And
as we mentioned, these service organizations
disappeared.
Right. It's a different world today.
Well, when I became mayor, that's what I thought, and we've created this Discover Downtown Petersburg organization. And my whole point was, and I've told a lot of people this, growing up in Petersburg like I did, I remembered all those organizations that are no longer there. There's a number of them that it's just dissolved. So if nothing else, if we're going to have these type of activities, the Discover Downtown Petersburg organization is it. All right, let's sponsor these type of activities because, like you say, when the Jaycees did that, what a great event that was. And I can remember, when the rides, it's like the circus comes to town. And that was over at the OPG or on your lot that you own, which at one time was the orphans home lot. That's what I would refer to that as. But, being right in town where people can see that and to take it to the extent that we have on Main Street where you can't miss it, it's very exciting when the circus comes to town is the way I look at that. But had it not been for an organization like that, we wouldn't have things. It's just all disappeared, and that's a shame.
Well, and maybe the churches can pull into this and decide we could sell codfish sandwiches.
Yeah. Right.
Or brain sandwiches.
Whatever creative ideas, and I hear some new ones. This year there'll be some new ones. We had buffalo burgers, like I say, we do this with just a handful of people, and and I understand it takes manpower from all these organizations, but it's also fun. And I think the ones that do that enjoy it. I hope they do because they usually come back. They realize it's kind of fun. They make a little money at it. But I really am always have put an emphasis on on our community, non-for-profits and local businesses as well. So that's what I'm so proud of. If we can pull an event off like this and everybody enjoy it and come back.
Yeah, we've got them the other 51 weeks of the year, and we need to patronize that.
That's
as
exactly
well.
right.
So are local businesses, local restaurants getting involved in this with food trucks?
Well, some are, yes. Like Me Patio, they do that. They're going to have a food truck presence, and they will if you speak with them about it. In fact, they're sponsoring the beer garden again this year, and they look at it almost like a community donation, their participation. But it helps their business. But they also are very interested in seeing our community prosper, and I think most of the restaurants would tell you that. Not everybody comes to eat at the festival, and those are big weekends for them as well. It brings people to town, and they come for the entertainment or the rides or whatever reason. I really think we hope it benefits all of our businesses.
Fabulous. So we are we're looking at Thursday, October 9th, the 10th, the 11th. And it's now a 3-day weekend.
Yeah, it is. It sure is. So, like I say, it gets a little stressful at my house, but I kind of go into a different gear. It's just fun.
Cleanup is Sunday?
Cleanup is Sunday. That's always a job. And if something else, Randy, honestly, it also gives us an excuse to clean up No, it's much easier than it used to be in our downtown area. I know I've done it with a leaf blower and brooms, and we bring the fire truck out and wash the street and all the things we've done to clean up. And we get a lot of help with that, and that really helps too. But it's also a good excuse to clean up on Sunday when it's all over with.
Great. Mayor, how's the rest of the city? Anything to update us on?
Yes, very good. I think a lot of people don't understand. We've really been in a major infrastructure project for the last 10 years. Started in 2016, and then you will remember, being the mayor, the challenges we had with the second oldest water plant in the state and a sewer plant built in the 50s. But we were in very critical shape in 2015 or whenever it was. We were very fortunate. I was contacted by the people from Rural Development. Petersburg, believe it or not, they called me and said we were a designated community. I said, what does that mean? That was through the Department of Agriculture and Rural Development, because we haven't had anything done in this part of the state like this. So obviously I was very interested. We got involved and worked on this. We did the planning for a brand new water plant that's now completed, major water improvements that most people are aware of and have heard about. But at the same time, we're nearing the completion of a brand new sewer plant. So these are very basic things, that are so important to a community, and we're so blessed to have had the financial assistance from rural development for water and sewer to be able to do what we've done. And finally, here we are 10 years later. I can see a light at the end of the tunnel, and it should be all finished by the first of next year. But those are things that are out of sight, out of mind. But not only just for our community to exist, actually we'll be the first one to tell you from an economic development perspective, the first thing these prospects want to talk about is water, sewer, gas, and electric. So we are so blessed to be able to do what we have done on an infrastructure basis and have it behind us, and for looking forward to the future investment in our community. But the good news is, for me especially, it's almost finished.
Wow, it's the infrastructure. It's hidden. People don't see it, so it's not.
Yeah, until it doesn't work. You know as well as I do what happens when it doesn't work.
But you've got to have it.
Yeah. Look, we all remember 1990 when we were before the tornado. What a lot of people have forgotten was that we didn't have water 2 weeks before the tornado because the water lines had busted at the water plant. And think about how many, as well as I do, in the last 30 years, it hasn't gotten better out there. So we're fortunate our new water plant is finished and it's functioning. We've made lots of improvements throughout town, the 2 water storage tanks, the big new storage tank. All this stuff on the water side is pretty well finished. Now we're just about finished on the sewer side. You may not know this, but when we started this back in 16 or whenever it was, we were just so close to a sewer ban with IDEM, and I was just begging with them not to do that. That meant we could not have added one more house to our community. So we just dodged that bullet, got this sewer project underway that will be finished now, and we've added lots of customers just in the last year because of the building that's been going on in Petersburg in the last couple of years. So honestly, we have added, how I look at this, and you will remember this being the mayor, we really run a utility business. We do all the things you just mentioned, but really at the end of the day, we run a utility business. And we've been able to add 70 new customers in the last year because of construction going on. And you also know the only thing that affects your rates, you've either got to increase your sales or raise your rates. So we've been able to increase our sales by adding new customers, and I hope to continue to do that to help all of us ratepayers keep the rates in line.
Well, and in a small city, one thing some people don't understand, you've got a small city, you've got a small sewer company, you've got a small water company. You've got to provide the same services as a large one. You just don't have as many people feeding into it.
I told Mayor Yoakum from Vincennes one time, I said, the difference between us and at that time Mayor Winnicky in Evansville was, we're doing the same things. He's got a lot more zeros there to work with, right, and 150 people. Where we little guys, we've got the same challenges. And that's why I say we've been so lucky, but we don't have that many ratepayers.
I used to use that same scenario, just add zeros.
Add zeros, yeah. So we run and you remember this, our head count, honestly. And one thing you forgot to mention when you talked about all the, let's just call it challenges, for lack of a better word, for the mayor, is we inherited the Walnut Hill Cemetery a few years ago.
That's right.
And that does not bring revenue with it.
That's
just an expense.
That was another service organization
they approached me one day, bless their hearts, Frosty Radcliffe especially. He said, we are in our mid-80s now, and we've got to do something with the cemetery. And unfortunately, here's the keys. And I said, guys, I'm not looking for anything else to take care of. But at that point, you're gonna have to decide real quickly: do we let that place grow up in weeds and be forgotten, or somebody from out of town acquires it, they milk it, don't take care of it, and we get stuck with it? We might as well take it right now, keep it in the shape, or try to improve it going forward. And as you know, we don't get tax dollars for that. That's purely on donations and whatever we can come up with. But that is a project. Can you imagine this season, the mowing and the trimming? Believe it or not, we have guys on weed eaters trimming those headstones. Can you imagine doing that all day? But that is a real challenge, maintaining a facility like that. And unfortunately, a lot of the people that lived here have moved away. A certain amount of the wealth in our community has moved away. So we really need to reach out farther for assistance to keep that place going, because it's something I think this community is proud of, to have a cemetery facility like that. But it is a real challenge to keep it the way everybody wants it to be.
Beautiful rolling hills.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I think, and we're fortunate, but none of that's easy. It all comes down to money. And as I say earlier, like on these sponsorships, it seems like all I do is ask for money. And I guess that's part of the job, as you know. But and that's why I say we've been so lucky with the funding and things we've been able to do. None of it would have been possible without the assistance we've received. But that's another hat that the mayor has to wear. You've got to raise money all the time.
With a smile.
Yeah, you do the best you can on that.
You've got to pay attention to the little stuff as well.
That's right. It's been good for me, Randy. I talk about that, and I've said that to you many times. I've really enjoyed it, growing up here and being able to do that in your hometown.
What a great experience it is. It lets you look at the other side.
Yeah.
Kind of like food service industry. I respect those people so much more now.
Oh, yes,
than
that's right.
What I should have.
Oh, people have no idea how challenging that is. That's one business I never wanted a part of, because you've got to do the same. You've got to provide that product the same way every time, and the service people demand with all the uncertainties. That's a business it's just hard, and just too hard, I think.
Mayor, we need to pay some bills. I'm going to jump over here real quick. And recently that real estate market has been unpredictable. But at Harris Real Estate, we still have clients looking for homes and properties. Let us help you sell your home or property or find your next one. We're local. We know the business. We pay taxes to the mayor. We know the community, and Harris Real Estate has listed and sold hundreds of properties right here. Harris Real Estate, 812-380-1065. When you wash your car or your vehicle on a regular basis, there are many advantages. You're easier to see, you preserve the life of your vehicle, you help maintain its value, protect the paint, you give more revenue to the water department, and it just looks better. It only takes 6 quarters or your credit cards to get it started. Stop by Petersburg Car Wash today. Petersburg Car Wash, home of the springtime yellow Mustang. 401 South 9th Street, Petersburg. Keep it clean. So thanks for joining us for this program of WFPC Podcasting. The program is brought to you by Harris Real Estate and Petersburg Car Wash. Please like the podcast and share with your friends so more people can hear about WFPC. You may find WFPC Podcasting on our website, Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and wherever you listen to your favorite media. Join us next Friday for another WFPC podcast, exploring the people, information, and news right here in Pike County. See you next week.
Welcome to WFPC Podcasting, your local source for the heart and history of Pike County, Indiana. From back roads to town centers, we bring you the voices, stories, and news that shape our community. Join us on this journey through the past, present, and future of Pike County, Indiana. Tune in next week for the next episode of WFPC Podcasting.